In this video, we will learn about object-oriented programming concept. The main concept of object-oriented programming, in short it is called OOP, is to bind the data and the function that work on that together as a single unit so that no other part of the code can access this data. Look at the example below. Here are the two variables x and y, and also there are two functions, getData and putData. Object-oriented programming concept combine these variables and functions into a single unit. Before going into the deep details of this concept, let me tell you one scenario. Here is the scenario 1. Suppose there are three persons, person 1, person 2 and person 3. All these three persons are distinguished by their characteristics like name, age, height, skin color, etc. That's mean characteristics distinguish a person. One person is different from another person by their unique characteristics. Now, behavior are the tasks that a person performs. That is, the person can speak, walk, run, sing, or eat. In object-oriented programming language, we are concerned with characteristics and behavior. How these two words are related with object-oriented programming, I will describe it in the following presentation. Let me show you another scenario, scenario 2. Suppose you want to make three boxes of different sizes, box 1, box 2, box 3. For that, either you have to call or visit a carpenter. Now the carpenter will make a discussion with you and he or she will note down all the parameters that a box has. That is, the carpenter will note down all the length, breadth and height of the respective boxes. And by using these three parameters, we can calculate area, that is the surface area, or you can find out the volume of these boxes. The parameters length, breadth, height are called the characteristics, and the area and volume are called the behavior. So while the carpenter is discussing with you, he simply make a note in his copy, and this is what he called a blueprint. At this moment, he is not making any boxes, so there is no physical existence of a box while the carpenter is writing all the parameters in his copy. After that, the carpenter will return back to his workshop. He will buy some raw materials and then he will create the first box. That means he will create the first object. By looking into the same blueprint, he will create the second box, then the third one. We all know that object occupies space. So while the carpenter is creating a box, that means he is creating an object. Not only these three boxes, by looking into the blueprint, the carpenter can make multiple boxes. And obviously, the value of length, breadth and height of each and every boxes are different. Now look how the previous scenario and this scenario is related to object-oriented programming. For that, let's continue our presentation. Look, concept of class and object. So this is my previous diagram, where the blueprint contains the length, breadth and height and the two behaviors, area and volume. In Python programming language, characteristics are called attributes and behavior are called functions. In Python programming language, blueprint are represented by a keyword named as class. This class represents the blueprint, and this blueprint has a name, that is box. So in Python programming language, we have to write like this, class box. And within this class, we have to define all the attributes and functions. Now the question is how to create objects in programming language, that is in the Python programming language. The technique is like that. We have to write an object name, that is box1 equal to class name box parenthesis open close. So by using this class box, we can create multiple objects like box2, box3 and so on. So why these are called objects? In Python programming language, when we write like this, box1 equal to box parenthesis open close, our memory is reserved within the primary memory by looking into the variable length, breadth, height. So this length, breadth and height as a whole occupies some space within primary memory, and these space are represented by a name which is called box1. In reality, object occupies space, and in Python programming language, object occupies space within primary memory. And this box1 is also called instance of a class. Class do not occupy space in memory. It can be assumed as a plan or a design written in a paper. So when the plan is implemented, then an object is created. So in the same way, we can create multiple objects of the same class. Here I have written box2, box3. which contains the same parameter, but the values of the parameters in each boxes are different. Or in other words, you can say that different objects having the same parameter may have their different values. Now, if I call the variable breadth, it is meaningless. You have to specify breadth of which object. So, to access these attributes, we have to specify the object name. These length, breadth and height are the member of box 1. This length, breadth and height are the member of box 2, and this length, breadth and height are the member of box 3. So these are called the member variables. Functions area and volume does not belong to any object. It can be worked upon box 1 or box 2 or box 3. Sometimes we called class is an object's factory. We can create multiple objects from a single class, and each of the object has its respective values. Let me tell you another example. When you log in to check for your mail, each one of us has the same inbox, outbox, sent item, trash, etc. But the values are different. I think you have understand the concept of class and object. Now let me write a class box in the interpreter and start creating some object of the class box. Class is a keyword to define a class. Suppose the name of the class is box. After colon, we have to define all the parameters which are associated with the box. That means a box has length, breadth and height. To declare member variables within a class, we require a special function named as init, I-N-I-T. And it is written like this: def underscore underscore init underscore underscore. And within parentheses, we have to write self. This is the syntax. Then length, breadth and height. So these length, breadth and height are the three local variables. These are not the member variable. So after colon, we have to write like this: self dot length. So this is the member variable length that will be initialized with the local variable length. Next, self dot breadth equal to breadth, breadth, the local variable breadth. Next, self dot height, this is equal to the local variable height. So this length, breadth and height, which is written on the left hand side of the assignment operator and are associated with self keyword. So these are called the member variables. And the right hand side of the assignment operator, there is also length, breadth and height. These are the local variable. So these length, breadth and height will receive some values from outside, and that will be initialized within the member variable length, breadth and height. So this init method, this is called initializer method, that is first run as soon as the object is created. So this is a special function. You do not have to call this function explicitly. When we create an object of this class, this function will be called automatically. This is also called constructor. That means it constructs all the variables at the time of object creation. And this function is mandatory for all class and object program. Now let's define a member function. For that, we have to write def and then say I'm writing the function name as volume. Within the parentheses, we have to write self. This self represents the instance of the class, or in other words, we can say that this volume will be work for the calling object. With the self keyword, we can access the attributes and method of the class in Python. So before declaring any member variable or member function, self is the first parameter. Now within this volume function, let's return, say, length. Obviously self dot length multiply self dot breadth multiply self dot height. So all the member variables are multiplied and written to the calling function. Now let's write the main code. So from the main code, we have to create object of this class. So how to create the object of this class? For that, we have to write say box1, or in short, I'm writing b1. So this b1 is my first object, and this is very simple to create an object in Python programming language. We have to just specify the class name box, and within the parentheses, we have to specify the length, breadth, and height for the first box. Suppose I'm writing the length is 18 units, breadth is 15, and 10 is the height. Now let's print volume for box 1. This will be more appropriate. Is b1 dot volume units. So let's run the program. Look, it is giving this output. Volume for box 1 is 2700 units. Now we can create multiple objects of the same class. If I want to create another box, for that I have to write b2 equal to, again we have to call the same class with different values. For this time I'm writing length, breadth, height as say 10, 8 and 5. Now let's copy this line. So the volume for the box 2 is b2.volume. So look very carefully. We are calling the member functions for the object b1 by using this dot operator. So this dot is an operator. So b1 object is calling the volume 1. And this volume 1 is working upon the b1 object. Again, when we are calling the volume for the next time, so this time the object is b2. So this volume will work on the values which are assigned within b2. And this volume function is called by using this dot operator. So it will give another output. Volume for the box 2 is 400 unit. So look what is going on over here. So when we are creating the first object b1 of the box class, so this b1 object is occupying some space within primary memory. It has length, breadth and height. As soon as this b1 object is created, all these three parameters will be assigned within length, breadth and height. This length, breadth and height will initialize the member variable length, breadth and height. So the length of b1 object will be 18, breadth will be 15 and the height will be 10. In the same way, when we are creating the second object b2, it is also occupying a space within primary memory. It has also three variables length, breadth and height. So this time 10, 8 and 5 has been passed to this length, breadth and height. So now this time the member variable of b2 object will be initialized with 10, 8 and 5. I think you understand that we are reusing the content of the class box multiple times. So all these objects are residing in different memory spaces within the primary memory. So there is no question of conflict. Now look at the member function's volume. So when the volume is called for the b1 object, here I have written b1.volume. That means volume will be calculated by taking all the values from b1 object. So length is 18, breadth is 15 and height is 10. So by multiplying 18, 15 and 10, we are getting the result for the volume of box b1. In the same way, when we are calling volume of b2 object, length, breadth and height are assigned with 10, 8 and 5 respectively. So this time volume works on b2 object and it will return the corresponding volume of the b2 box. I think that you have understand the idea of class and object in Python programming language. Still, if you have any problem, feel free to write in the comment box. Thank you.